Hi, I'm Tam, and we're going to make a freshwater pearl bracelet. Real pearls, like freshwater pearls or South Sea pearls, you want to knot them so that they don't bang into each other and damage the pearl. You know, it depends on how valuable your pearls are, but most pearl jewelry is knotted for this reason. So I've already strung on all of my pearls and I put them in sort of the order I kind of like. I'm using a mix of natural color. Well, these are all natural, but these are natural white and natural gray. And I've sort of put them in the order that I want them to look on a gray cord. And a finished bracelet is usually about 7 inches, including the clasp. But you have to also take into consideration, if you're using something thick, like tall, you have to take that into consideration because you need to allow room for the tallness of the bead. Normally it would be 7 inches, but if the thicker or taller your material is, you need to add you need to allow for that. So basically what I do is I would put on a bunch of things, a bunch of the materials, then I would measure. So I put on 7, but as you can see, this isn't even close. So I'm gonna need to add a couple more. Sometimes when you buy, especially gemstone beads, they are drilled with a tapered drill bit. So one end, the bead hole might be bigger than on the other end. So you need to make sure that your stringing material and your needle fits through both ends. The more expensive stones that you buy are better drilled, and they are usually drilled on both ends. And then you can allow a little bit for the knots as well. So I think that should be sufficient. So I've already started knotting here, so I'm going to continue. And I'm going to put my tweezer in. So on something like this, it's also fun to use, like to experiment with color string. If you, I mean, I'll have some samples that I'll show you with, you know, where you can use, instead of a matching string color to your beads, you can sort of also, you know, use like a red, or, you know, if you want to just make your design a little bit more different. But this is the typical color choices are more, the normal string choice is usually to match the bead. I'll show you some of the samples we have where we use brighter colors in the stringing. There's a lot of tools also called like a knot maker, which I have never really tried, but I think this is like just as easy as anything, because I think with the knot maker, I don't know how, you know, it affects your string size, but with the tweezer, you know, you can use it'll work with any material. And it's pretty easy once you just, you know, practice a lot and get used to the whole movement. So basically I finished the whole stringing, and I'm going to add the clasp. Now I'm going to get out to add the jump ring because I already have the hook on the end. I want to make sure I match it to the French wire on the other end. So I think it was a little longer. Okay. So I'm going to put the crimp on first, or let's see. Then the French wire. And then I'm going to add my jump ring. So I used a silver French wire to sort of just work back with the gray beads. So that looks sort of, it's a nice detail. Then I put on the jump ring. I have to find my French wire. So then I'm going to put the jump ring on, and we center the jump ring onto the French wire, like so. And I have to put the needle through the crimp again. And now you're making a loop. So I'm going to move my French wire down to the knot, and I'm going to pull. And I'm going to spread the French wire so that it covers the loop, covers the silk. And this also reinforces the silk, because then your metal jump ring or your metal clasp is not rubbing against the silk directly. There's like a barrier in between. Got all bunched up here, so you just have to kind of spread the coils with your fingers to cover the, so it's like that. And then I'm going to, I leave a space because I'm going to make a knot here to end the, before I cut the silk off. So then I make sure the two pieces of silk are parallel before I use the crimping pliers. And then I'm going to close it. And then before I cut this off, I'm going to make a knot. And you want to make this knot sort of close to the other knot at the beginning here. Your last knot. So I'm going to hold it. And make the knot. So then basically have something like that. Now I'm going to show you how to use glue as the last finishing technique before you cut off any of the strings. So this is the glue I like to use. It's called GS Hypocement, and it has this really, really fine tip, which is really good for getting into the little knots. So basically, what you want to do is shoot the glue wherever you're going to trim. Like I have excess string here, and I want to go down a little bit further on the string, so when I cut it, it covers the cut and the string won't fray. So here I have a knot. I'm just gonna put a little glue here. And this glue is great because it dries clear. Because a lot of times, like super glue, some people use as well, but it doesn't really dry clear. There's also epoxy, but that also doesn't dry clear. This is the best glue to use for stringing because it dries really, it has a tip and then it's really, it dries clear so it doesn't discolor your string. So basically I shot the glue and I'm gonna wait a little bit for it to dry. Then I take my snippers, so it has the straight edge and you wanna use something very sharp. So I'm gonna put the straight edge where I want the clean cut. So basically I'm going to do this, and you gotta make sure you don't cut this, you know, anything that you don't wanna cut. So make sure before you cut to put your tool right exactly where you want it, and then you just snip, and that's it.